Let's now cover financial independence. At least we'll get started. Everybody has to wrestle now with their own concept of financial independence or getting rich or becoming wealthy. I know some people are a little uncomfortable with those kind of phrases, and I can understand that. You know, we've heard the phrase, which is true, to love money would certainly be evil. But money's not evil. There is some evil ways to acquire it. The difference between greed and ambition. Contrary to the movie Wall Street, greed is not good. Greed is evil and must be dealt with. Greed is evil. Greed hopes for something for nothing. Greed hopes for more than its share. Greed hopes for something at the expense of others. We call that evil. Right, we should lock them up. It's true. Make them pay the price. Greed is not good. Here's what is good: ambition. Legitimate ambition. Legitimate ambition says, I only want something at the service of others. Not the expense of others, but at the service of others. Jesus gave the greatest scenario for success when he said, whoever wishes to be the greatest, nothing wrong with wishing to be the greatest. It's called enlightened self-interest. But he gave the key to those who wish to be the greatest. Here's what he said: find a way to serve the most. Service to many leads to greatness. Not the expense of many. Not at the calamity of many. The greed for power caused Stalin, in his day and time, to kill 30 million of his own countrymen. His greed and lust for power was so powerful. It is true. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. Stalin, probably one of the best examples. He was willing to kill 30 million of his own countrymen to satisfy his greed for power. Power at the expense of others, not at the service of others, but at the expense of others. But Jesus turns the whole scenario around and says, to be the greatest, the most powerful, is a worthy ambition as long as it's done in this mode. Here it is, at the service of many. Service to many leads to great wealth. Service to many leads to great recognition. Service to many leads to great satisfaction. Zig Ziglar probably said it as well as anybody could say it. If you help enough people get what they want, you can have everything you want. That's not greed. It's called legitimate ambition at the service of. But I know some people have, they're struggling with this idea, and we talk about how to get rich. I've been teaching kids, all these years. How to be rich by 40, 35 if you're extra bright, much sooner if you find a unique opportunity. And some people are a little disturbed by that, teaching kids how to get rich, teaching kids how to make a fortune. So I've modified it a little bit, and here's the best I've been able to come up with. And that is the goal to become financially independent. A little softer than rich. A little softer than make a fortune, and sometimes it's a little easier for it to go down, or at least comprehend, if it's put, I think, in these terms: financial independence. Here's my definition of financial independence: the ability to live from the income of your own personal resources. It's powerful. And I think it's a worthy goal. I think it's a worthy and legitimate ambition. To render good service, to develop skills in the marketplace, and to become so valuable that you can have the resources, and finally, have enough resources, well invested, to where you could live independent from the income of your own personal resources. Then if you do wise things with your resources and the income, all the things you'd like to do, the projects you'd like to support, things you'd like to take care of that you can't take care of now, I think it's a worthy ambition, financial independence. With that background, let me recommend a book for you to read. The title is The Richest Man in Babylon by George Clason. Perhaps you've already read it. I would suggest that you read it again. It's just a small book. You can read it in one evening. I call it the appetizer for the full discourse on the subject of financial independence. Now, let me give you the major theme of the book. The major theme is that what you do with what you have is more important than what you have. What you do with what you get is more important than what you get. What we do with what we have says so much about us. It reveals our philosophy of life, our attitude, what we know, and what we think, and the makeup of our character. It is a reflection of what is going on inside of our head and within our value system and decision-making process. It also reveals our ability to weigh and to perceive. The outer is always a reflection of the inner. It is an indication, a reading, a revealing. It speaks, it tells, it shows. Remember that key phrase I gave you earlier? Everything is symptomatic of something, and it is symptomatic of something right or something wrong. It is a wise policy not to ignore the symptoms, for they can be early signs of a poor choice of philosophy, or a sign that something important is being misread, misunderstood, miscalculated. So of all places, take a look here. What you are doing with your money says something about you. Now, what you're doing may be okay. All I'm suggesting is that you take a look. Let me give you some of the details of a good financial plan as suggested by Clayson's book. First, a very broad but important statement. Learn to live on 70% of your net income. Net meaning the money you have left after paying your taxes. The reason it's 70 is because you're going to be doing some very special things with the 30%. So what's left, 70%, is yours to spend. Now let's talk about the all-important subject of how you allocate the 30%. I remember one day saying to Mr. Schoaf, if I had more money, I would have a better plan. He said to me, Mr. Rohn, I would suggest that if you had a better plan, you would have more money. So it's not the amount that counts, it's the plan that counts. It's not what you allocate, it's how you allocate it. Here's the first part of the allocation process. Of the 30% you're not spending, 10% should go to charity, giving back part of what you have taken out to help those who cannot help themselves. I think that's a good percentage. Now, you can pick your own percentage. It's your life, and it's your plan. But giving your money to a church or to an institution is a good idea. More often than not, they can find the people who are in need. But whether you administer it yourself or give it to an institution to distribute, 10% should be given to charity. And by the way, the best time to teach this allocation process is when a child gets his first dollar. Take him on a visual tour. There's nothing better than visual to illustrate what you're trying to teach. Take him to where some very unfortunate people live who cannot take care of themselves. Kids have big hearts. If they see the problem, they won't have any trouble giving a dime out of every dollar. And one more thing. The time to start this is when the amounts are small. It's pretty easy to flip a dime out of a dollar, and it's a little more difficult to give away 100,000 out of 1,000,000. You say, oh, if I had 1,000,000, I'd give 100,000. I'm not so sure. That's a lot of money. Best we start you early, so you will have the habit before the big money comes your way. Now, here is what to do with the next 10%. Set aside 10% for capital you manage. That is, capital you find ways to utilize. Do some buying and selling yourself. Buy something, fix it, and sell it. Engage in commerce, even if it's only a part-time venture. Your home is a major capital project. In my opinion, we should all engage in capitalism in this country. Here, we believe capital belongs in the hands of the people. Communism teaches that capital belongs in the hands of the state. That's a great difference in ideology. I guess communism feels that humans are too dumb and stupid to know what to do with capital, so it should all be given to the state. Let the state run everything, and let the people meekly show up for their work assignments. In our country, we believe the genius to know what to do with capital resides in the populace, the people, the genius to come up with ideas for goods and services brought to the marketplace. It has built a dynamic enterprise known as capitalism and has created opportunities, in abundance. Now, here's the third 10 cents from every dollar, and that is capital you provide. Take 10 cents out of every dollar and put it in a financial institution. And now we have come to a major benefit for all of us if you bring this 10% of your earnings to the marketplace. You see, some projects in our society need more capital than one person can provide. So we have a system whereby all of us can loan or invest our money in capital provided, so that large businesses can be built to provide more jobs and products and service and help create an even more dynamic society. So 10 cents out of every dollar should go into a savings account. I really prefer to call it an investment account because, and kids will love this, they pay you for the use of your money. You can get back the money you loaned, and you will have more profit from what you are paid for the use of your money. And be sure that you teach this, that if kids start this program from whatever they earn on a job or in engaging in enterprise or both while they are in their teens, by the time they are 40, they will be wealthy enough to be able to do what they want to do the rest of their lives instead of all their lives doing what they have to do. Now, from your teenage years, it could take a much shorter period of time to become financially independent, depending on what ideas and opportunities you take advantage of. Mrs. Fields developed a new chocolate chip cookie and became a millionaire before she was 30. Mrs. Fields chocolate chip cookies. What an example of capital in the hands of the people, not in the hands of the state. A 10-year-old takes $1, searches around the community and finds a broken, abandoned wagon, pays $1 for it, brings it home, cleans it up, sands off the rust, paints it till it's shiny and new, straightens out the wheel, and sells the like-new wagon for $11. You ask, does a 10-year-old deserve $10 profit? And the answer is, of course. Society now has a mended wagon. And that's what it's all about. Find something and leave it better than you found it. Create a value. Build an equity. It's how we build this most dynamic society called America. And everyone can contribute. Everyone can bring some value to the marketplace. We can all be students of capital, profit, equity, and value. We can all engage in enterprise. We can all participate in the disciplines that bring wealth of lifestyle and treasure. All of us and our children can build the most powerful and attractive society ever. We have the knowledge, the tools, the schools, the market, the resources. All we need is the will. Let each of us begin. Its riches are for the having.